things that are progressing with us towards the end if we have time. We also wanted to build and sustain relationships with our faculty. We're big on realizing that we need to build those relationships, and not only inside of Purdue University Online as an organization, but outside as well. So choosing the 5 topics was something that our leads did. And I'm going to turn this one over to Connie, because I think this is our first poll.
Yes, so you can use the QR code on the screen, or I put the link into the chat. I think it's the right link. But when you think about faculty professional development, what topics would you cover? And I should have clarified earlier, we say faculty professional development. We also offer this to instructors, to grad students, grad assistants. So anyone can really take these courses with us, but we'll talk a little bit more about how they enroll and things later too. But go ahead and put some ideas into the brain dump.
All right, I'm going to switch out the screen and see how we're doing.
Ooh. Effective discussions, accessibility, instructional design.
ORE.
Yeah. Assessment, really important.
Mm-hmm.
Seen lots of words from our different workshops. Ooh, self-paced.
All right. Let's talk more in detail of what we came up with for ours.
So our final decision for our first go at this was teaching on, we had 3 workshops and 2 mini courses. The workshops were synchronous, but we also offered recordings. So we record the workshop, post it into a Brightspace course with a bunch of other resources. So for workshops, we did teaching online tips and tricks, which had several different short bursts of things that instructors might need or want to know more about. Creating rubrics for online courses. This is one of my workshops that I've taught many times now, but it's a good workshop for thinking about how to design a rubric. And we did some hands-on kind of fun things, like instead of doing a rubric for an essay, we did a rubric for buying a house. And also alternatives to exams and quizzes for online courses. And then for our mini courses, we did teaching through online forums and discussions and creating engaging videos, which I know April was really involved with. Yes. And our instructor time commitment was 1 to 2 hours. We really wanted to keep this as short as possible. And again, these were very open for faculty instructors to just go in and explore as well. The ID and VPT video production teams also had some autonomy on choosing whether their topic should be a mini course or a workshop. But we knew we wanted a fairly even split.
Yeah, and one of the considerations on that was the topic. A workshop on creating engaging videos would be too much of a deep dive and hard to fit in. So that's why that one was chosen to be the mini course. One of the benefits of our organization, Purdue University Online, is that we have a larger team of instructional designers and video producers. So our next poll is just out of curiosity, what size is your course design team? Maybe you just have instructional designers. Maybe you don't even have the video producers. So that's what this next poll is about. You can use the QR code, or Connie has also placed the link in the comments as well. And I'm just going to pull that up here on the screen. Let's see where we're at. All right, majority of us are less than 10, which I find as I'm meeting other designers from other organizations and universities, that's very common. So the next things that we show you on our team and how we put things together, you might have to definitely figure out how you can do this on a smaller scale. But it's totally doable. Just think outside of the box.
Yeah, we're blessed to be the opposite of the majority of you, where we have about 30 to 40 instructional designers and video producers on our team.
Which sometimes being small, though, you can be a little quicker, I think.
Yeah.
There's benefits to both. Okay, so then we assembled our teams. And one of the things that our leads did was they created an Excel spreadsheet to help with the sign-up process. It was totally up to you where your interests were. Personally, I have a video editing background. I have not been formally trained, but I had that background from previous endeavors that I've had. And so I was interested in helping with the video mini course. And then also, I also signed up to review other courses, which we'll get into that component later on. So we took a snapshot of what our sign-up sheet looked like. Just don't want to click too far ahead here. And we've actually provided a blank template without all our information in there. So this is part of the QR code that we'll share at the end. In case you want to use something similar, you won't have to build it yourself. So we put the goals of the project at the top. We had each of the workshops and mini courses. And we had just topic 1 through 5, and then went into more details of the goals of the project. And then launch dates were included, and quick turnarounds. And then participants could sign down here at the bottom just by logging into the spreadsheet. And then we developed those workshops and courses by meeting with the teams. We set up our own schedules. And one of the things that we had to do first were to determine learning outcomes. Our group met together with those separately on each topic. And then the team leads, who were our senior instructional designers, took that to our senior leadership for final approval to make sure that it aligned with our goals that we had in mind, and not only for the project overall, but also for the topic that we used. Connie mentioned that we also use the LMS. Purdue University has their own registration process to sign up for professional development. Normally, there is a small fee to use this, but we found out around this time that there is no fee when we're using it to develop our instructional support and our faculty and instructors and TAs. So that's what we utilized. We didn't have to come up with any funding for that. And like Connie said, the courses that were, or not the courses, the workshops actually had a shell, and then the recordings went into there. And it was an easier way to also have a place with all the resources that might have been shared in the chat. So faculty can go back into the LMS and get those links and retrieve those. The mini courses were set up to be self-paced, which meant that we had to do self-assessments. And just speaking from the video course itself, that was kind of difficult because we didn't want to go over that 2-hour mark for the self-paced course. So instead of having them produce a video at the end of the course, our goal was for them to leave with an action plan so that they had everything outlined, that they could start thinking about what engaging videos they could create for their course. The next thing that we want to mention at this point was choosing a good app to use when you do the synchronous sessions. Even with practice, technical difficulties can come up if you choose one that does not work well. So there was kind of a little glitch on one of our workshops, but it was quickly resolved basically by changing up what app we used. So even with practice, those technical things can happen, and you just kind of have to be prepared for them. We also offered completion badges for our faculty who follow through and complete the courses. Those are awarded automatically through D2L's system in Brightspace. And then the review process. This is the other part of the process that I enjoy seeing other people's work. So when there is a review opportunity, I like to sign up for that. And one of the things that we had to decide as the reviewer team was what tool would we use to review the workshops and the mini courses. The only tools that we had were for our full course builds, which are based on the quality assurance QM model. And so after a meeting and looking at our timeline, we had two choices. We could develop a new process, especially one that met the needs of a workshop. That's where we really struggled with the review process. Workshops kind of have a different feel to them than a mini course or a regular build course. Or we could use the current process and the forms that we had and just alter them to meet the needs that we had currently. And of course, due to the time constraint, we did choose to use our current format to review. And then we just had an understanding that some of the items might not be a checkbox item. It might just be that, okay, this is a special case where we're doing a workshop, so this point will not be evaluated on the review. Now I'm going to hand it over to Connie.
So finally, but not really finally, because oops, sorry. Can you hear me okay? All right. So finally, but not really finally, because we always have improvements to make and more things to do. We market and launch.
Are you still muted? If so, I can take it. These are the technical difficulties that I talked about.
I can hear both of you.
Oh, good.
I'm not sure what's happening, April, but I can hear both of you.
Okay. I will talk and let April know when I'm done in the chat. So she's got control of the screen too. Oh, there we go. All right. So when we were marketing, we had a lot to think about, and a lot of us were very new to figuring out how to market the programs. Actually, I could probably share. Oh, I can't because her thing is the account.
So yeah, April, you're still sharing screen, so we can see you going into settings. But okay, perfect.
I'm not sure she can hear us. Uh-oh.
Oh no, I wonder what happened. Oh my gosh, that's a unique issue. I've never seen that before. So that's new. April, can you hear any of us? I don't think she can. Okay.
I don't think so either. All right, we'll figure this out. Reverse. I can't share it, Jason, because it's the premium account. I wonder if it'll let me. Oh, maybe. Here we go. Let me see what I can do. Sorry, everybody.
Does anybody remember sign language? Does anybody speak sign language? That would come in handy right now. That's what I'm thinking. I'm like, no, I don't.
Oops, it has me as a participant. Can anybody add me as a host? Oh, there we go. Okay. Can you all see the slides now?
Yay,
right.
Yes.
Excellent. All right. So back to marketing. We were all pretty new at marketing, so we had a lot to figure out. But we do have college program managers. I think we looked it up and we have 13 schools and colleges within the university. So we have, we also call them liaisons or college admin leads that we reach out to when we want to get information to different colleges. We also have a couple of different university newsletters that we look at. And word of mouth was also really important for this too. That we encouraged all of the instructional designers that were working one-on-one with instructors to let them know about the different workshops and kind of spread the word on teams as well. It's also on the Teaching at Purdue website, which hopefully April will be able to talk a little bit more about soon. And since the original launch, we've run the workshop several times, some scheduled, some upon request. I think I did the quickest one ever for a face-to-face faculty workshop. My 45-minute workshop was cut down to about 12 minutes, so that was a fun one. The mini courses stay completely open, so we refer them to the self-enrollment tool and the course catalog. So if April can talk. If not, I'll pick up here in just a second. All right, I'll try to talk about teaching at Purdue a little bit. So April joined a task force to work on something called Teaching at Purdue, which has different pathways and topics. It's part of a huge instructor professional development site that's currently in its pilot right now. And the instructors can choose a pathway to go, and that pathway may lead them to a lot of very short things, short blurbs of information, or it may lead them to some of the longer, the workshop recordings and things like that, that they spend a little more time on. So for lessons learned, we always feel like there were so many. I'm sure everybody does as they pilot a new thing. As April mentioned earlier, talking or making time for a needs analysis to see where we can be of the most help, which is difficult when you have a large number of people giving their input. Choosing that familiar synchronous app. We switched from one to another after the technical difficulties. There's picking one with more familiarity is definitely the way to go. An early decision on the review format or process is important too. The reviewers tried a couple of different things before they landed on one way to do it. Planning ahead for marketing. There were a lot of people to reach out to market the different workshops, and Jason Garvey, who's in here now, did a great job of doing that. Avoid scheduling during known busy times. There were a couple of times where we were real close to finals week or grades being due, Oh, can April talk now? Yeah, if you want to take over. Huh?
You can hear me and I can hear you.
Yes.
I forgot where the settings were for the audio in Zoom. My headphones, I think, completely have just died.
Oh no.
So I'm taking them off. What a time.
Yes. Well, if you want to back up, I gave a very brief overview of teaching at Purdue, but you're welcome to talk more about that. But I was just talking about avoiding scheduling during the known busy times,
okay,
too, because of how close we were to, I think, to finals week once. And the last thing really was ongoing LMS support. We had some of the topics had discussion posts in them. So figuring out, the logistics of if we were going to answer discussion post, who was going to answer, who the point people were after the workshops were run, who was going to kind of continue being that point person while the mini courses were open too.
And then I can add the piece that is kind of part of my project lead right now is teaching at Purdue. We are offering the courses through a larger push from our provost office to incorporate all the resources that we have on campus into one site. We had to do proof of concept, and we've been working on this for over a year now, using SharePoint, which if you're familiar with SharePoint, it is not very friendly to, you don't have a lot of control. There's certain templates that you can use. I've learned a lot about SharePoint. We've made it look the best that we can. And at this point, because of our proof of concept, we are now pursuing how we are going to design it in WordPress. And we're excited because it looks like that's going to be going forward. But for right now, we have on SharePoint, and our SharePoint visits are increasing. An additional thing that we will be adding to the Teaching at Purdue site, of course, is AI, because that's becoming a larger topic. And I'm also involved on the team there due to my involvement with Teaching at Purdue. Our first step was tier 1. That's the other thing about Teaching at Purdue. We have 3 tiers. Again, just kind of providing a quick, hey, I need some help in this area. How do I open my course? That's like our 5 to 10 minute tier 1 type solutions. And then tier 2 is a little bit deeper. And then tier 3, of course, is our deepest dive. Right now for tier 1, we just gave some overall guidance for AI, and we do have that live on the SharePoint site. We developed that within about 3.5 weeks and got that published. So it was a short turnaround. And you know what happens when you do great things in a short amount of time? They come back and they say, hey, tier 2. So we are now working on tier 2, which involves workshops. We have a professional learning community that is holding conversations about AI. They've had 2, and they have a 3rd one that will happen the first week of April. And from those discussions, we have developed topics that we are going to bring into a workshop format. We just had our meeting, and we're getting clearer direction on those workshops, but we do have a teaching academy at Purdue, which has a process to induct certain faculty members who have met certain metrics and accomplishments in their career. We are reaching out to them to help us facilitate these workshops. And then what we want to do is basically give a breakout room situation where it's focused on one specific topic for AI, and that we can guide and facilitate and guide our instructors and faculty to think beyond just academic integrity, to guide them, how can we best use these tools? The first thing we're going to look at is learning outcomes. One of my colleagues that is on this project with me, she's like, students will understand is kind of out the window now, needs to be gone, but kind of forcing the issue at this point. So happy to answer any questions. Like so many of us, this is all new and evolving quickly as well.
skip ahead to some feedback, and then after the feedback, we're going to have some Q&A and sharing time, so you can gather your ideas together too. But I'll let April take over this slide as well.
Sure. So we had surveys within the workshops and the mini courses, and those who took the time to fill out these surveys, 90% felt that it was relevant content. 70% thought it had enough practical exercises, and this is in the strongly agree and agree. And then I think I'm trying to remember what the 100%. What's the next slide, Connie? That all the materials were very useful. Facilitators, of course, were knowledgeable and likely to attend future workshops. So we were very happy, of course, with these results from our faculty members, which means that we need to continue the process of bringing them future courses to meet their needs. And then we also surveyed our own staff who worked on these. This was really a great team effort. I know one of our video production crew members that I worked with, she was just like, wow, this is what happens when I do the videos. You put them in these course shells. This is so cool. And she really grew her background on what we deal with building a course. And I think that was just really enjoyable for her. And, you know, all these other quotes, first time being a SME, good opportunity for personal growth, get to work with people not worked with before, because we did try to, we are divided on 3 teams, and each team kind of has a particular college or multiple colleges that they work with. So at times we kind of feel siloed. In this project, we could reach across those management teams and work together on projects, which was great to get to know one another a little bit more and kind of learn tips and tricks from each other. Presenting was a win, and the interactions with faculty, of course, the relationships built, that was wonderful. So yeah, we can go on to the next one, I think. Yay, Q&A.
So we made it, and everybody can hear us, and and we can all talk. So we're happy to answer questions, but we also want to hear your ideas about faculty professional development too, because this was new for us just over a year ago. I think last year around this time was our first workshop.
It was.
So yeah, we're happy to share our experiences, but we'd love to hear your experiences too. Feel free to put it in the chat or unmute.
Yeah, our deeper dive workshop, one of the offerings that we have for that is actually a self-paced course where you can learn how to build your course, which is what we walk people through. We normally take a 16-week build is our normal when you're working with an ID. And this way it's a self-paced if you wanted to do that as well.
Yeah, so I have a question. If you were to offer any advice to anybody who is trying to start up something like this at their institution, what advice would you give, if anything?
I think one of the big things is make sure you have enough time. That's a resource that's needed, probably along with your teammates that you can pull along. Don't try to be an expert on everything is another piece I would recommend. Kind of take a look at who you can work with.
I think Jason is still in here, and he was one of our project leads. If he has anything to add to that, since he started the the train on this. He might not be here anymore though.
I am here. I was just
You
getting
are.
set up. Yeah.
I'm just
So
calling you out.
no, that's fine. Can you maybe talk a little bit more about what you're after in terms of that question?
I don't know if Charlotte heard you.
Oh, I thought you were asking Connie in April. Yeah,
No,
sure.
I was asking you, Charlotte. Yeah, yeah.
No, okay. So where to get started? How would you get started from an implementation standpoint?
Yeah, I think one of the big things that we didn't do, I mean, we tried to do was we talked to the college leads to determine, hey, what do you need? And so it was funny to talk to them because they, by and large, they said, well, we don't know what we need. What do you think we need? Was kind of their response a little bit. And so I think if we would have spent more time with them, or if we would have had the ability to talk to more of their faculty, maybe we could have done a little bit more um, targeted development with their faculty. One thing that we wanted to kind of stay away from was how do you write measurable learning objectives? Because we felt like that was always on everyone's radar, and we're like, they might be tired of hearing that as faculty. Like, okay, we get it. We're not supposed to use the student will comprehend, or the student will understand, or the student will know how to build a car engine, or something like that. Um, so I think that was one area that we wish we could have done a little bit better, in terms of, okay, what are those big areas that you're looking for? So what we had to kind of narrow it down was, okay, how do we get deeper into one topic that deals not just designing an online course, but how do you start to facilitate some of those things once you're inside of the course? So we tried to do some broad strokes with that at first, of like, okay, here's an opening session that talks about generally about what you should be doing in your course. But then once you're inside your course, how do you build a rubric, and how do you teach through a rubric, or how do you teach through like discussion forums, and what are some ways you can use discussion forums? So it was really trying to get that aspect out of the way. Like, okay, we do a lot of training on how do you design your course, and how do you write measurable objectives, and how do you link everything up, but then how do we start to facilitate some of those pieces as instructors? And so that's kind of where we started, and where I think it's a good place to start in terms of doing that needs analysis and understanding what's that need there, but then also realizing college admin sometimes are just saying, I don't know what my faculty need. I don't know what they actually need. They just would like more training, And so it was like, so you felt like you were kind of put on like a blindfold, and you threw a dart at the board. You opened your eyes, and you're like, well, we weren't right on the bullseye, but we were close to the bullseye, on some things. And maybe that's a little much, you know, too much inside information, but it's just sometimes, and even talking to faculty, they didn't know what they wanted until they saw it. Like, oh, and I think what we saw was a lot of faculty wanted to know, how do I do videos well? And I think some of that came just out of COVID. Like, how do I do that better? So that's what I would say. Hopefully that answered your question, Charlotte.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
I think the nice part of that was too, we were able to pull in elements of Brightspace, especially in the synchronous workshops. We could pull in, like for rubrics, how to build the rubric inside of Brightspace and how to connect it to an assignment. So if they needed that little tidbit, like we were there to give them that too. And we provided resources in the shells. There's a lot of questions coming in the chat.
Yeah. I was going to say Ted's question, approximately how many faculty members attended each training? And did you have deliverables or artifacts required? I don't have the numbers, Jason might, but as far as deliverables, it just depended on the course. Like I mentioned in the engaging video course, we decided an action plan would be the deliverable, because then they could take that with them, because there was not enough time. Video editing and things, depending on how deep they wanted to go, could really take quite a bit of time. So we just decided to do an action plan. They walked through describing who their audience was. Do you know your students? And then the different techniques that they could do, and all the way down to what are you going to do for accessibility? So
I know for discussions, we asked them to create their own shell, to have them add in like a discussion post and thread and that type of thing too. Not something that we graded, quote unquote, but something that gave them some hands-on practice as well.
There's a couple other questions, April and Connie, and we're about 5 minutes to the end here.
To answer Amy's question above, Ted's future plans is we have used these workshops in several iterations now. And in fact, Connie had the opportunity to do an extra one on rubrics because it came up in another program that's offered at Purdue called Impact. And she was able to do a quicker version of it to some of the Impact Fellows who were going through that program. So we are using them. It wasn't just a one-time thing. They are scheduled out and at better times now. Let's see, whatever.
So Meredith had a question that is good for you, April. You mentioned.
How are you doing?
Oh, sorry. Oh, somebody's talking to their dog, maybe. April, she said, you mentioned learning about video production. Any tips on learning for those of us who are self-taught beginners?
If you have access to things like LinkedIn Learning, that there might be something there. Also, the program I like to use that gives you a lot of power, but yet it's not so overwhelming as a beginner is Camtasia. I feel like Camtasia's website has a lot of support as well as tutorials, and we actually worked those into our course itself so that the faculty members, if they wanted to take a deeper dive on that tool, they could. Or if they just wanted to learn the basics of, hey, I make a cut here and a cut here and maybe a fade, they could go that route too. So there's all kinds of variations. I came from the background of using Adobe. My husband and I had a videography business before I came on board with Purdue. So kind of self-taught myself that way. But I recommend Camtasia because it gives you enough of the tools to use it. But that's my go-to. I hope that answered it. Any follow-up?
I think Jason just answered it, but Charlotte said, how did you train all the others on your team about what you were teaching instructors? And then Jason answered, oh, go ahead, Jason, sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say, as these were instructional designers, we asked them and we talked to them about what they're passionate about, or we let them, talk to us a little bit about some of their passions and have them sign up to be the leads of those topics. And so as they've worked with faculty a whole bunch on these type of things, building rubrics and courses, doing discussion forums, and so we felt like they had a lot of experience, and that's where we kind of flipped them of like, you're now the subject matter experts on these things for faculty. We're not we're going to teach faculty about these tools and about how to facilitate courses and how to deliver items, because you've done this so often, but you've never been in that role to be able to help them. And we didn't get into subject matter in terms of content of this is how you would teach this science course or this philosophy course. It was, well, how do you generally do this? And you've done this before, so we felt very confident in that they didn't need a lot of training, and then they were on teams and the teams worked together to build that content out.
And in the chat, I just put the link to our resources and ways to connect with us. Feel free to reach out. I'm sure April would love to talk more about teaching at Purdue as well. I know there was a question up there about the pathways too, and it's probably a very long answer.
Yes, please reach out because it is a long answer. There was quite a bit of discussion over pathways and tiers and everything as we developed it.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, April and Connie. That was a wonderful presentation. I believe now we're going to transition